all its inconveniences, Laing was satisfied with life in the high-rise, ready to move forward and explore life. How, he had not yet decided.
I thought you were empty.
I just moved in.
You're an excellent specimen.
You don't know how things work around here, do you?
I'm a fast learner.
Which floor are you?
35.
We're down in the bottom, in all sorts of shadows. Most families are.
We pay the same charges as the top floors. We want our fair share of the power.
Things would be better if we could afford to move to a higher floor.
If you lower people, overload the system, there'll be power cuts.
How's the high life?
Prone to fits of mania, narcissism, and power failure. You built all this.
I put all my energies into this town.
Is that a horse?
Probably.
On the 40th floor.
Your husband appears intent on colonizing the sky. Who can blame him when you look at what's going on down at street level? I think we should be prepared to meet moderate resistance.
Perhaps you're right.
What are you doing? What are you doing in there?
Teething problem. Building's still settling.
Does it seem odd that a man can fall from the 39th floor and not one police car turn up? Where's the sirens?
What have you got there?
A kaleidoscope?
What can you see through that thing?
The future.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Guys, thank you for being here. Thanks for coming and talking to me about this awesome movie. I love it. And I want to start with you, Ben. This movie has been, the producer of this film has been trying to get this made for a number of years, right? He's the guy that also produced Crash. So how did you get involved with it, and what were your thoughts going into adapting this book?
Yeah, Jeremy Thomas is the producer who produced Crash and Last Emperor and loads of massive movies. He's quite a hero. And he kind of, they've been trying to make the book since 1975. But I came into it quite naively and delicately by one day just looking at my bookshelf and going, oh, that's weird, no one's made High Rise, wonder why, I talked to my agent and said, try and find who has the rights to it. And within a couple of days I was talking to Jeremy. So it happened really, really fast for me. It took him 40 years, but I got there quite quick, which was good.
How did you look at High Rise and think to yourself, no one's adapted this? When you read the book, it states essentially right off the top, which the movie kind of does as well, in saying that, things didn't happen for any particular reason. There was, essentially it negates any kind of sort of conflict at the beginning of the book and sort of devolves into a bunch of revolving conflicts almost that never really have massive payoffs. How did you see that as an immediate movie?
That was exactly the elevator pitch we had at the time. A bunch of random stuff, and then nothing pays off. No, I think life is like
selling it for you right now.
Thanks, man.
Go
really,
see this movie,
you can
guys.
see everyone's really happy about that. But no, I think life's like that. It's like not everything is as kind of cut and dried as it is in movies, and that's kind of what makes them feel sometimes there's a disconnect there. I think humans are really good at kind of post-rationalizing their own stories, aren't they, and gluing it all together and making them make sense. But the reality is sometimes shit just happens,
Mm-hmm. And Tom, how did you get involved with this movie? Were you a JG Ballard fan, a Ben Wheatley fan? What was your interest in it?
I was both. I was a huge Ben Wheatley fan, if I'm honest. I'm just going to confess that, sitting 3 seats away from him.
Right, it's not awkward when you're that far away. If we were next to each other, I'd be
if we were next to each other, it would be awkward. But I can say it with this distance. The 3 films I'd seen at that point were Kill List, Sightseers, and The Field in England. I hadn't yet seen Down Terrace, but I did see it after we met. And I'd made a film with Jeremy Thomas called Only Lovers Left Alive, made by Jim Jarmusch, and I had a very good relationship with Jeremy. And he sent me the script, and it was very exciting that Ben was attached to it. And the combination of Ben's taste and Ballard's sensibility was intoxicating, I think, to me. It seemed incredibly provocative, and the script written by Amy Jump, who always works with Ben, was brilliant and insightful, and it seemed like a perfect experience. There's something very rebellious about Ballard's writing, which is that he has a quality of I think he always felt like an outsider in British culture. He's someone who was always brought up as British in Shanghai, but never actually set foot in Great Britain until he was up 14 or 15 in the 50s, and he didn't recognize the country he had read about. And even though he was a very kind man, a very urbane man, very sophisticated chap, as people attest to, his imagination was huge, and I think he's got this extraordinary insight into British culture, which is really what High Rise is. It's a dissection of a certain slice of British society.
That's so interesting because to me, the High Rise is not just a dissection of British society, but a sort of metaphor for having everything at your fingertips in a very small place, and a kind of a sort of fear of missing out eventually. Like your character in the book, your character talks about not being able to leave the high rise at a certain point because he's just so scared that like he's going to miss something happening there at any point. And that to me now just sounds like the internet. I can't not be on the internet. Yeah, exactly. I have a fear of missing out on Facebook or shopping on the internet, anything like that. And the high rise is kind of
high rise is the internet for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they do end up like in the book, which is quite interesting, is that they film everything as well. They say everything's on Super 8, and then they project it all onto the walls. And then when I went back to the book a few years ago, that's what really struck me as one of the things that Ballard had got right. That our need to broadcast, our need to kind of record everything and watch it back, and we literally weren't there unless we filmed it. I'm really holding back from my instinct to photograph this now.
Which you do in the movie as well with Luke's character. He's a documentary filmmaker, and there are projections in the movie. When you're adapting a book like High Rise, how hard is it to know what you need to explain to the audience and what can be a reference point that is fun for those that have read the book, but also makes sense just enough for an audience who hasn't read the book?
I mean, I've never been a fan of exposition particularly, or explaining. And I think the audience is everyone kind of underestimates the audience, and I think that the way that people watch movies now is that they'll happily watch stuff that's tentpole kind of popcorn stuff, but they also watch a wide range of kind of other types of movies, including like art house stuff, and they're also consuming tons of TV, which is it can be very complicated as well. So I think it's that there's been a world where people have looked at audiences and tried to market to very small sectors of them, and thinking that that's all they watch. But I think that from my own experience of watching and consuming cinema, it's across the board. And I think that the exposition itself is like kind of almost like dead air a lot of the time in movies, where people have to go, it's like you get the recap in a documentary. It's like, and previously this happened and you do this and you do that, and now we all know what's going on. But really, it should be being sold in the dialogue underneath, as the movie's going along. And mystery is more interesting than fact, I think, oftentimes in movies and television as well.
Well, there's a fair amount of mystery in this movie, and I'm curious, as actors, a lot of what you do is, from what I understand, is draw a line from sort of the beginning to the end, so you can sort of have a trajectory for your character and know in every scene how you're building to the next scene or building to next moments, just essentially know where you're going. But with this movie, a lot of times we're sort of dropping in as things are sort of being shaken up, be it they explained or not explained at times. How does that affect you as an actor in doing these scenes? Did that question make sense? Sorry.
Sort of. Well, I mean, we're so used to shooting out of sync anyway, out of order in the film. My first day, I was Is it a
the
spoiler
last
if I
day,
say
wasn't
that? It's my
it?
last
Yeah,
day, yeah, my first day. So he's quite used to that, and this is a very disjointed story anyway, so it sort of didn't make it any different to any other film, really, shooting it, because it always feels very disjointed. Really, you have to know your trajectory, like you said, before you start, so that you can drop in wherever you are. With this film, you're in blood today, you're covered in blood, great. Or you're in a swimming pool, drowning a dog, or, eating a dog, or whatever. There's lots of strange stuff going on.
Stick to the action, sort of know how to sell the immediate action of that scene.
Just giving away all the big sets.
All the best bits. Go see the film.
I think the chaos of this film, though, that's, in a sense, the more disjointed we felt and the more chaotic, the more it contributed to what we were making, because there isn't really a coherent through line in this film, and there shouldn't be. I mean, everyone is just losing it, basically. So it helps, that feeling of chaos and fragmentation.
And I'll say again, the bravery of the film, and I think part of the brilliance is sticking to the fact that, like in the book, there is all this chaos and everybody is losing it for seemingly there's no set reason. It's not like a gas is...
Well, the reason, yeah, I mean, there's not a kind of B-movie reason for it.
Right.
There's not like an alien invasion or something like that happens. But I think why they go crazy is a kind of is a human reason, and you see it out and about in the streets, and it's like things slowly go wrong in the building, tiny things, and the people in the building join together in their kind of anger at that, and it's like you heard of the kind of the broken window theory, where if you see one broken window and no one fixes it, then there will be two broken windows, and then everyone gets permission to smash the crap out of the whole place.
Like essentially broken windows policing, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing in the building. It's like the lifts don't work, so they all start to grumble, and they're going, oh, God, we paid all this money to be here, and it's not what we want. And so they join together in this kind of this atmosphere of crossness, which just gets really out of hand.
Like in the same thing in the book, where it's kind of like power goes out, suddenly trash is outside the doors. Like it just, like you said, it steadily builds and builds and builds.
Yeah.
I think that's the experiment. I mean, Ballard's, there's a fantastic interview which he gave to Search and Destroy in 1978. And the idea he confesses for the novel came from, he was on holiday with a girlfriend in Spain, staying at a beautiful hotel, with a view of the Mediterranean, beautiful weather. Everybody was catered for, and people still found reasons to complain. So there would be complaints. You can't drop your cigarettes down from your balcony onto mine. This is my space. That's your space. You're playing your music too loudly. Why do you have a better view of the ocean than I do? And so these tiny sort of tribal complaints, he found interesting that the human condition is always basically going to find cracks in the plaster, and actually what he's doing with the high rise is that he takes that experiment to its end point. If the high rise is like an ocean liner disappearing over the horizon, initially it's seductive and glamorous, and there's available alcohol and the promise of exciting experiences and all that stuff, and then slowly things start to go wrong. He just doesn't stop. He keeps turning the dial, but in a beautiful and human and detached way, which is every character indulges their appetites, and the mask of their civilized manners is stripped away, and you see their true colors, which I think is fascinating.
Absolutely. I'm curious, Ben, how did you create the high rise and the look of it? Because it's a beautiful film. It looks incredible, and I was imagining while I was watching it that you had a certain amount of studio space, and then you were sort of digitally creating the exteriors of this high rise.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted it to be to start as being really seductive and sexy, and it's something I can't say, no disrespect to my other films, I can't say that they are, that sexy. And we wanted to make something that you wanted to live in that tower block. You wanted to be there, So that was super important. And we'd kind of looked at like 70s advertising as a jumping off point for that look. And then it would also give a contrast between when it goes to hell later on, what it actually looked like. But in terms of technically, we'd found a building in Northern Ireland in the seaside town of Bangor, which was like a 1970s sports centre. So it had swimming pools and squash courts and gyms and all this kind of stuff. And then inside it had a big area like of basketball courts. And I can't stand sport, so it was really it really appealed to me to turn them into studios. So we kind of built over the top of these areas, and that became the apartments. And then apart from that, there was another big space which was a ferry terminal that was not being used. So we built into that the larger areas like Royal's apartment and the entrances and stuff. So it was kind of half in a studio, half in the reality of what in a real 70s building. So I think that really helped with the atmosphere of it.
Ben says he can't stand sport, but he's very good at squash. Just by the way.
Yeah, right. So I would play squash with Tom while we were doing the squash scenes, and he let me win.
No, Ben is...
And he did. He's such a liar. But it's like...
Let the director win.
No, Ben is seriously good at squash, I'm telling you.
Yeah. So I was in a full suit, in a corduroy suit, and he was in his squash gear, and he was somehow... Look. And somehow he was losing a bit to me. A little bit.
And you play squash with Jeremy Irons in the movie. How's he? How's he as a squash player?
Jeremy is a fierce competitor. He wouldn't mind my saying. Very spry. Very.
It's in the film, isn't it? I mean, the press ups he's doing there's a sequence when the pair of them are doing press ups, and we were filming it. It was just really the warm up for the scene, wasn't it? And then it was just going on, and Jeremy would not stop. He's just a beast. Wasn't he? Yeah. I'm going, wow. I can do one press up.
Yeah.
So. Oh, go ahead.
Jeremy Irons is a terrific squash player. Exclusive.
He wouldn't have let me win, would he? He wouldn't. No way.
I was going to say, the three of you get scenes in this movie where you get to just be totally wild and crazy. And I'm curious, when you get a script like that where you get to see yourself doing that, does that excite you? Or are you immediately like, oh, yes, something where I can just go off and go completely insane as an actor?
Yes, entirely, yes. That was the thrill of it, I think. And Ben creates such an amazing atmosphere that even though the material is dark, actually the requirement as an actor is to have no inhibitions and to kind of yield to those instincts, and it's very, very exciting. There's lots of party scenes that get out of hand, and of course you have to start with a party scene, which actually feels hugely fun before it gets out of hand.
Or even the dark stuff is pretty funny at times. I mean, the paint can moment is really funny.
Yeah, that was a very intense day. We did that in one take. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's supplies are low in the high rise, and different residents are competing for different bits of the last stuff in the supermarket, and there's a big old fight. Yeah,
you beat a man almost to death with a paint can, essentially.
He was padded. I can say. I was not. But
it was terrifying watching that. I mean, because it's all on concrete floors as well. So and it was one take of that, wasn't it?
Someone took a can of baked beans to the head, didn't they?
It's one take.
Yeah, that was James Purefoy.
Yeah,
bowled a can of beans.
Yeah.
The thing is when you're dealing with like parquet, lino floor. It was incredibly intense. And we wanted. Ben was very keen, and rightly, that it should feel it should feel as scrappy as a real fight. Yeah. It shouldn't look like it shouldn't look choreographed. It shouldn't look like a superhero fight. It shouldn't look like a piece of cinematic action. It should look as rough and nasty as a...
It's harder to film, right? Because it's
harder to
stage.
You just sort of have to do it. Like I was with this stunt guy, and we shook hands, and I said, we sort of said, look, to each other, sorry if I accidentally hurt you, but we warmed ourselves up, and then it was great. But not only those scenes, there's a scene where Luke and I get to dance together, which is a rare privilege I'm allowed. I've danced with Luke Evans on film.
That's a bucket list moment, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Man's got some shapes.
Luke, what about the two of you? When you get a script where you get to see scenes where you kind of just get to lose all your inhibitions as an actor?
I don't know. I love the kind of wildness of it, and I think that the danger within it was really exciting. But the losing the inhibitions, I mean, there was some nudity which which, you gain quite a few inhibitions by doing those scenes as opposed
True.
to obviously.
I didn't mean those
I
inhibitions.
didn't. I thought that's what you were referring to. You kept looking right at me. I was like, yes, all right, I get naked. So does Tom.
You must have been so excited
Yeah,
to be naked
I
on
read it.
film,
I was like,
Sienna.
I have to do this, especially after 6 months of breastfeeding. I really am in the mood.
Tom, we did it again. We got this again.
Boobs. Yeah. No, but the wildness of it, I think, as actors, the further you get to push things, the further the people that you're playing are. I love people on the fringe, people on the edge of some sort of breakdown is where I'm most comfortable because it's most interesting. I mean, if you could sit in a park and watch a normal person walk by, it wouldn't be as fun as someone who's losing it a little bit. And I think it's the same for our. Sorry,
She's right. It's essentially what drama is, though, isn't it? It
Yeah.
has to be. Otherwise,
Thank you, Ben.
it's like, you can't make films about nice people being nice to each other, and there's nothing happens, and then at the end, everyone gets a badge or something and a prize. It's just these are films that people aren't going to go and see, particularly, or if they do, they will never go and see them again. So, maybe I don't know. Maybe it could be a new genre: happiness films. The world isn't under threat by anything big. And nothing's going on today.
Let's have a picnic.
Yeah, what's going on? Yeah.
I think those are called romantic comedies.
Oh no, there's a threat.
romance.
And yeah, well, romantic comedies are usually full of grim stuff, isn't it?
Good ones.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching what was it? 4 Weddings and a Funeral, and you watch that, and it's grim.
Well, there's a funeral. I mean, there is a funeral.
There's a funeral. Yeah,
In the
that's
title,
the end.
so you know
and it's
that-
coming. You
yeah.
can feel it coming through the movie.
At least they're honest.
That's the yeah. It wasn't a funeral, then some weddings.
4 weddings.
Yeah, that would have been
A funeral and 4 weddings.
Yeah. 2 weddings, a
Sometimes
funeral, and
you
then
make
another
that.
wedding. 4 funerals.
I want to be in 4 funerals and a wedding.
Survive.
No, it'd be a wedding and then 4 funerals, wouldn't it? With they have a massive fallout at the in the reception.
That's right, there's Ben.
Go on, that's it. That's how you heard it here first.
Sounds
You've
like a
got
lot of
completely
fun.
off point.
We're good at this.
I'm
See
gonna
4 funerals and a wedding.
I'm going to turn it over to the audience for some questions. Anyone have any questions out there?
Hi guys, thank you so much for being here. So this is for everyone. Out of all the roles you've played, which character would you say you related to the most? And for Ben, out of your movies, what story did you relate to the most?
For me, I've had the privilege of being able to make lots of movies that are essentially kind of about myself. So I'm a kind of a man-child who has a very short temper. So those characters feature again and again in my films. So that's who I am.
Probably Bard the Bowman, I guess, because he's Welsh and he lives in a little village, eats fish, kills dragons, although I've got a dragon on my flag, so yeah, I related to him most, I think.
I don't know who I relate to the most because they all tend to be quite wacky and damaged. I really liked playing Edie Sedgwick. It's just such a fascinating world, but I, thankfully can't relate too heavily to her in the drama of it. Low-key.
I have tyrannical aspirations, and my greatest ambition is to open a wormhole in the sky and let a race of aliens stream in. In fact, it's going to happen later today. The reason I've come to Manhattan is that I'm going to open a wormhole. Those Avengers are all in Europe promoting civil war, so it's going to go down.
A wormhole is a first for AOL Build, so thank you. That's fantastic.
I'm here
Tom
to help.
Hiddleston brings boobs in a wormhole.
I probably can't do better than that, but truthfully, I would probably say the same as Ben. I would probably say that that everyone I've ever played, including Loki, is a version of me. Not the tyrannical aspect of it, but the you're having to extend yourself into circumstances that you haven't experienced, but they're still your own emotions that you're exploring, I guess. So I don't know. They're all me and they're not me at the same time.
Next question.
Hey guys, thank you all so much for being here. Big fan of all your work. As you said, Bard and Edie Sedgwick and Factory Girl, and also you're a total chameleon. I didn't even recognize you in American Sniper at first, so kudos. And Wallander was one of the first shows that I saw from the BBC, and I love that. So all your work is great. But I would like to ask you guys about your stage work. Luke, I know you got your start at the West End, and you've done a lot of stage work. The Hollow Crown was great. And there's some rumors, you did Cabaret, Sienna, and there's some rumors about Philadelphia Story with Bradley Cooper, who you starred with in American Sniper. So I'm wondering if any of you guys have any future ambitions for the stage, maybe in New York, because we would like to see you all on the stage here in New York.
I'm bringing my one-man poetry show.
What's the title of your one-man poetry show?
It's 4 funerals and a wedding, isn't it?
And it's poems I've written myself. They're quite long. Just about my thoughts.
He also does it naked, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
butt naked. With a mirror so you can see the other side as well.
But they're poems about your thoughts? They're not your thoughts alone?
No, I know, that's the USP of it. It's like, it's thoughts about thoughts. Deep. It's going to be good with some flute over it.
Looking forward to that off-Broadway show that you're talking about. Thank you.
I'd love to do Broadway or off-Broadway. Always looking, always reading, trying to find that one thing that I want to do on stage for 6 months or whatever it takes, you know. So, yeah, I'm still reading.
Yeah, I've done 2 shows here and plays in London as well, and I think that really is where I'm happiest and what I love doing the most. We have done a reading of that play that you suggested very recently, but that happens all the time. You read something and you see whether it could work. There are great aspects to that piece, but it's also quite dated thematically, the idea of society and this old money. We're talking about it, but I would love to do a play with Bradley for sure.
Yes, I mean, theatre is a huge love, and it's on the bucket list. Would love to be in the theatre here. So watch this space, I guess.
It's not theater, but Luke, you have a big movie coming out soon, right? Girl on the Train with Emily Blunt, and some trailer was released yesterday, right? Sending that one up for the fans out there for you. Take it away.
What do you want me to say? I actually saw Emily this morning. She's heavily pregnant now, looking very glamorous, wasn't she, at the Today Show? It's coming out October 7th, I think, this year. The trailer dropped this morning online, which is really great. Very happy with that. So,
congrats.
Yeah, it's great. I think it will deliver what the fab. Obviously, everybody's read the book. It's a very famous book, and it feels like it's got the right amount of tension. And the trailer's really, I'd go and see it if I wasn't in it.
Absolutely. I think we have time for one more question from the audience.
How's it going, guys? I'm a huge fan of all of you. So all of us get to witness your projects, your work ethic, your talent, and we all formulate our own ideas of you guys, and we all remember you guys a certain way. So what would you guys like to be remembered for if you guys had total control of it?
Good question. Difficult to answer.
Define your legacy now.
Slightly taller.
Slightly taller than you thought.
In the flesh.
Not having a head like a bowling ball.
I don't know where to begin with that. I think you want to be remembered as sort of, moderately talented and kind would do.
Yeah. Did a good job every now and then.
Yeah. Tried hard.
No one found out.
Talentless.
I want Ben Wheatley to write all of our legacies.
Guys, I have to wrap up, but I love this movie. Congratulations. Thank you so much for making it, for daring to make this movie, and for coming to us and talking about it. When does it come out? Does it come out this Friday?
15th, right?
Yeah. The 13th. Okay,
13th.
great. It's in theaters May 13th.
It's on the screen behind you.
Oh, wow.
It's on demand on iTunes April 28th, and it's in theaters May 13th.
There it is. Guys, thank you so much.
They misspelled theatres. There's an extra E in theatres.
Theatres. You can see.
There's different types of theatres then.
Is that well, they spell it?
Is that the English way to spell theater?
No, it's not. I want to say one more thing. You can see it on demand on iTunes. It's on April 28th. But this film is so cinematic because of the work of Ben and his cinematographer Laurie Rose that you should see it on the biggest screen you can.
Plus Tom gets naked.
You want to see that
on the big screen.
I've seen it on the big screen. It is absolutely beautiful. You should see it in a theater. You shouldn't watch it on your laptop at home. It's a really fantastic theatrical experience. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Yeah.